we can moderate. Still, I'll moderate. Ready? Go next. We have to put it on or just leave it?
It is on.
It's on. So, the moderator is here.
I'm here. Sorry. They were running late. There are the next presentations or start something. They sometimes just set up so you can just drop by and see how many. Hello. Welcome everybody to this little roundtable. It's going to be a kind of an open session, so we have some speakers who are going to share their experience in educational projects, and they have around 5-10 minutes each to talk about what they do, and after that we will have an open talk about any topic regarding education. So it's just a nice way to start to see what's happening, what's going on in the educational world with Blender. And then if anybody in the audience also wants to share something or we want to talk about it, bring up any topic, that's the right moment to do it. So I don't want to waste any more time. So the first one who wants to, yeah? So, okay. You want to use this mic? Or?
Yes, I will.
Oh, you can use this one.
You can.
Whatever you want. I'm not going to interrupt you.
So my name is Adriana Mikulášková. I'm working at a Swiss high school in Zurich. I'm working with students that are from 14 to 18 years old, and I want to show you how I work with Blender, how I work with 3D modeling in art education. So my presentation will be about art education. I'm teaching computer science as well. These are my both areas, but this one is out of art education. So that's the school I'm teaching at. It's a mathematical natural science high school. So there are a lot of technically interested people. And this class is just a small part of education. We have not much more time than 9 hours. They come during a short period of 6 weeks. They come for 2 hours in the afternoon. It's about 14 students, so not much. I can coach them individually most of the time. And because it's art education, the main focus is on design skill, on creative tasks, not on technical skills. I try to make them work with imagination, to express themselves, to explore things as fast as possible. The subject is problem-oriented and we do practical work. It's not much theory. And for me it's important that they have enough time to think about their visual products, to redo and to improve them. So the tasks, the exercises are quite basic. In this about 9 hours, I cover like staging, modeling, animation. I try to make this in 3 steps to not overwhelm them with too much areas, to have time to really dive into it. And even if the creative task, the design problem is the main focus, there are the software skills they have to get, and there is the media knowledge. With media knowledge I think about the 3D modeling area. You can know something about 3D modeling in general, and one thing that isn't so clear for everybody is the gap between automatization. What does the software for me, and what am I responsible for as an artist, or the students feel like an artist then? So these 4 points, these 4 aspects I try to emphasize at each exercise. The exercise I already told, this has to be as simple as possible. It has to be as open as possible. I don't do any tutorials with them, so they don't have to build something thousands of people have built it before them already. Everybody builds something completely new. There is a task, but it's an individual work. They never do any redo thing. Yes, maybe the 3 exercises. I give you some examples about what they do, how these exercises look like. The first one is to build an urban landscape, to build a city that looks like a city, not a bunch of cubes, but they are only allowed to work with cubes, no materials, no colors at all. So it's really reduced on these cubes. They can switch the size, they can switch the gaps in between the space. They're working with proportions, relations, and distances, and in the end with light and viewpoints. So these are basic creative design tasks. They are concerned with the technical skills. Is just about moving oneself and moving the objects on the stage. These are some examples. It's very interesting for the students. It's always interesting for them to dive into their own city, to see it from different viewpoints, to see it in different lights. That's one of the main fascinations of this medium, I think, for everybody who's coming to it first time. And most of my students do this for the first time. Another example is I say them build a group of animals just only with cube. Think about this animal, about this human, about this animal, about this creature, and how does it behave? Does it live in big groups, in small families? And try to visualize this animal just with its group, with the composition of cubes. Again, here they are only working with the composition, with moving cubes to each other or in proportion to each other. Later, in a later step, but that's already modeling, they give these creatures a form. They figure out how do this creature look like. Also here they don't follow a tutorial, but they do only with extrude and subdivide. They do this animals, and they are quite special. They resemble to an animal, but they are something new. Always they have a sheet, the notebook with them. Sometimes I say them just switch off the screen and go to scribble something. The same with modeling. There it's about exploring forms, relations, contrast. Technically it's only simple. They start with a cube, subdividing, extruding, nothing more. And so they can work on the design task. It's really nothing more to get a smooth surface. They work with subdivision modifier, but nothing more, no symmetry modifier. Here some sketches and some creatures. I always ask them to document their process, so that's another point where they think about their work and they are more into this design thing than the technical. I say them you can try out every Blender function at home later, but here it is to get the basics, to be able to create almost everything, maybe not as fast as it would be possible in Blender, but and sometimes they are quite special, the things they create. We discuss also what makes a creature looking alive, what makes it an animal and not a robot or a washing machine. These questions are always interesting to discuss with the works. And the last step is animation. They are very interested to make it move. We don't have the time to tell a whole story. So I let them do just a simple, most simple loop animation. They have to think about what kind of movement is possible to repeat endlessly, like breathing, doing something with the legs, some nervous thing, or just blinking with the eyes. So they don't use so much time to write a storyboard. They have the last 2 hours for this animation. And now I would like to show you some of these animations. It's So it's just of one of these classes, these loop animations. And I think even in these loop animations, they work on a real problem, because one design problem in most 3D animations are that the creatures look very stiff and very more like robots. And so they can work on something that is a real problem in 3D animation and think about, what do I have to do that it doesn't look like a broken machine, but like a living being? Or, for example, this student, he worked at home on the model as well, so it's more than these 9 hours, but the animation he made in these 2 hours at school. I show them all technical possibilities of animating quite fast, but mostly hooks or just keyframe, frame by frame animation is enough to do these things. Another example. Mostly I have to ask them to get the motion even slowly and slowly, because it's, we normally don't do too fast movements when it's long-term movement. So I will put this somewhere online. You can watch it yourself. And
Are we going to do a few questions first or directly to the next
No,
question?
actually, I would say we go on, and
Okay.
then like, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Nick van den Broek, and today I am going to talk to you about Blender education. Now, what do I mean when talking about Blender education? For me, Blender education is, first of all, a website. www.blendereducation.com. It is a website that I intend to launch in the near future, but in fact it is so much more than a website. It is a web platform. It is a platform where coaches, where students and educators can meet each other in the broadest sense of what that means, where they can exchange knowledge and ideas. Now, we have a lot of ideas of what this means, and a lot of them we want to implement in the future, but we have to start somewhere. So, as a first phase, the first thing that we will realize is a project-based guided learning system. What does it mean? This means that a student can come to the website and say, okay, I want to learn something. I want to start a project. This can be like, I want to learn how to make a nice picture of a red BMW. This means I want to learn how to make an interior scene. How can I make a house? How can I write an add-on? I mean, whatever the student wants to learn, that's a project. Then there will also be educators. Now, the idea behind the website is open community. It's a community-based website. So everyone, each of you, can become both a student or an educator. And the educators can then say, okay, I like this project. I know how to make a red BMW. I want to teach you that. I want to help you along the way. And then a student can gather one or more coaches or educators for his or her project. And then once they are gathered, they can do the project. This goes in 2 phases. Step 1 is dividing the project in different steps. This teaches a student how to do project flow. I mean, if you want to make an animation or just a still frame, there are a lot of steps involved. I mean, you have to go for reference photos, you have to sketch it out, you have to block it out, modeling, retopologizing, materials, textures, lighting. For a student, this is a daunting task. I mean, this is a lot of work. So the first step is to divide this in smaller chunks, things that the student can handle. And then, for each of those steps, he can just do them with whatever experience he has, and when he runs into a problem, he can go back to his coaches or educators and say, okay, how do I make the doorknob of a BMW? I know what it looks like, but how do I model this? And then the coach can help him that way. And then, in the end, the student finishes his project and pays the teachers. Now, this paying the teachers is still a highly debated topic, because we're still working on how do we envision that. And our current envisionment is like really a free economic. Like at the beginning, in this step, the coach applies or says, hey, I want to help you, but okay, I'm going to do it for free, or I want to have 20 euros, or I want to have 10,000 euros for it. Whatever they think is fair, and whatever the student wants to accept. That's the current idea. If you have any suggestions, please come talk to me. So what does Blended Education do in this entire process? Well, of course, we hope to have a huge user base, so please all come to the website. And then the means is that Blended Education gives a lot of students the choice to meet a lot of teachers. So where do I go? Where do I find a teacher? I've seen people post it on Blender Artists. Hey, can somebody please mentor me or something? Well, here is a place where you can go and where you can find people who want to do this. But it offers more. I mean, it offers you an overview of your own project, where you can see, okay, where am I in my own project? Which steps did I take? Which steps do I still have to take? And then it offers also a lot of the tools you need to do this. Like a forum where you can talk to your teachers, a private forum, because of course, if you pay a teacher, then the teacher doesn't want all this information on the public website. Oh. So this part we envision to be public, because we want to have it in the community. So other people can also come to the website. They don't have to be logged in, they don't have to pay anything, but they can still see what projects are going on, who is teaching what, who is learning what, and how does these steps go. Not all details, some details will be between coaches and students only. There will be a teacher's lounge, so as educators you can talk to each other. Private chat if things need to go faster than a forum. Everything we can envision, more features will come. We will start small, we will grow. We will put on there whatever we need, and if we can't implement ourselves, we will link to third-party applications for live web sharing, for whatever is needed. So I hope I got some people interested. If the next question in your head is, when can I start? We envision, normally we're currently building the website. We envision it to be somewhere in January. The exact date is still a question. If you are interested, join us on Facebook or Twitter, and there we will post the final exact date of where we will launch it. So I hope I've got some people interested. If you have any questions, suggestions, things you want to know, ask me now, during the rest of the, no, not now, after their presentation, the rest of the Congress, or go to the website. There's already some information on there. You can also find links to Facebook and Twitter there, or you can mail me at info@blendereducation.com. Thank you.
I just pull this.
Is this sound running?
I think so.
Okay, let's try now.
Let's find out.
No crackle when I put it in.
Sounds pretty silent, but we can just try. Try to play something. How about video signal? Because there is no video signal as well.
I haven't done that yet.
Okay. Okay, so it's
playing sound. Configuration, tool view, apply. Okay. Yeah, see the screen. I do have a pod speaker. It won't fill the room, but it's not necessarily critical.
Do you want to send a video?
Want to show the video right now?
Oh no, we're doing the PDF
Can
first.
do it later? Okay. In the meantime, I'm trying to call the guys.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Presentation. Cool.
Yeah.
Right, look,
Arrow keys, you know.
no,
But it's not on.
we'll just drag it across. Okay. Okay. Cool. Is this one working? Oh, maybe I'll speak on that one. Hello? Time's there. Okay. Hello everyone. We're here today from an organisation called Dami. We're based in London, and we're going to be talking to you.
Stand over there and I'll do the arrows.
Okay. We're going to be talking to you a little bit about what we're doing. We run a summer school at the moment in London. We're expanding next year, so we're going to be talking to you about what we've learnt, going to show you some of the videos people have made, and we're going to be talking about some expansion plans. So, next slide please, Tom. Okay. There are three of us here, as you can probably see. We're crowding the stage. There's myself. I'm Peter Kemp. I organise things. As I keep saying this weekend, I'm the least qualified person here because I don't know a huge deal about Blender. We've got Tom over there who's from UCL. He's our Blender head. He provides all technical support. And we've got Ollie who's going to be talking a little bit in a second about what he's doing. He's one of our students who's been doing the course for the last 2 years. Next slide. Okay, so why Blender in education in the UK? Well, trying to get yourself skilled up in 3D animation at school, this is pre-university level, is very, very difficult. There is a BTEC course, which is a vocational course, but it's not taken by very many people, and general schools, general colleges do not offer anything in terms of 3D animation. So we were trying to fill that gap, and also trying to work out what drives people to get into 3D animation at very young ages. Because as we have seen, and we're lucky to have you here today, people who are very young can be producing fantastic things. How do we support them? That's what we're thinking about. Okay, so I started in 2007. I was a teacher in East London. You may recognize this tutorial, getting 11 to 14-year-olds making stuff in Blender. The interface was awful. It was a bit of a mess, but they had a lot of fun. The interface changed in 2.5, which was quite exciting. I wanted to give my students more opportunities to learn, to come together outside school as well. So we came up with the idea of 3Dami, myself and Tom. Teams of 8 students making videos together across 7 days. So quite substantial. It's a week and a half of their summer holidays coming together, working together. Self-led. As I said, I don't know a huge deal. We don't want to teach kids the basics. They can do that themselves. So trying to get them to apply with portfolios and then getting them to work together on that. And also trying to get some industry involvement. So we were working with Double Negative last year on some of the stuff we were doing. This year we've been working with SAE, and we're hoping to expand some of our industry links too, because my ideal would be to try and get some kids some internships. Okay, so here are some shots from our application process. Again, you may recognize some of these. So we're giving kids tutorials to work on. And they're submitting these things, and they're joining our course on the strength of their portfolios, because they can teach them this stuff at home. And if they can't teach themselves stuff, why are they applying? This slide looks really, really cruel. It's not meant to be this cruel, but we support them in building their portfolios. Okay, so the plan, this is kind of what we ran with this year. Of course, things slip, as you guys full well know. But script storyboarding, asset creation, and planning what assets they need in the first 2 days. Then they have the weekend, if they want to go and brush up on some skills, do some more tutorials. And then characters rigging, animation, and Friday with a premiere, which we actually managed to hit, though we were about an hour late because of rendering issues, as you can probably imagine. Okay, moving on. So software, Blender, of course, that's why we're here. Linux, because it's really fast, and also Blender. There's a huge argument here for Blender in education as opposed to some of the other products. It runs on lower spec machines, it's free, you can run it over USB. If you don't have good computers at home, you're not allowed to use a computer at home, you can use it in a library, because it runs off a USB. It's portable. You can't do that with other systems. Blender is really suited for this sort of stuff. We've got the GIMP, and we use Google Docs to manage our projects. Okay, so in terms of render farms, we were lucky at UCL. We had 36 machines on a render farm, 36 nodes on our render farm. Next year, we're talking about potentially pushing it up to about 500, which will give us something substantial in lines with some, I suppose, some industry people, which will be really exciting. And for students that age, they are not going to have access normally to render farms. So we're trying to provide that, and Tom actually wrote one himself, so we could make sure that it wasn't being, we weren't having one team hogging it and the other team not having any time on it. So we've been writing our own render farm, but we've seen some great stuff here over the last couple of days, which maybe we will be getting involved with too. Okay. And then, so storyboarding, hugely important stage. We didn't spend much time on that last year. I should say I've been running this for 2 years now. Last year, the stories were a little bit rough. This year, a lot of time for storyboarding. We really tried to polish this, getting everyone first stage of scripting, storyboarding, no technical stuff at all. Moving on, work environment. So free food. It was some days 7 till 7. We had to get kicked out by security. Kids wanted to stay. They wanted to work on this. They were really keen to do more stuff at home. Very, very exciting stuff. 3D monitors, which were giving you headaches and stuff. But we were at UCL using I think their best computers. At the time. Okay, so which was really cool. They gave us the space over the summer. So this is actually a picture from last year, but we went to go and visit Double Negative. We had to sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, about what we saw there. We were watching things about Superman, which came out this year, of course. Very exciting stuff. Moving on. So we've got 2 movies now that we're going to show you. How's our sound looking? Okay, we'll try this. So we've got 2 movies. We've got the first one, which was by a bunch of other students, a group of 8 of them, and we've got the second one, which Ollie was the director. So if you've got any questions about, well, this or this sort of experience, or the second movie, Ollie was the person who made the second movie and directed its artistic side. So Tom, are we ready?
It's playing on like one monitor, but the PDF is refusing to go away on the other monitor.
Okay. So
There's the hard
we gave them a theme. We said it was Summer Never Comes, quite an open theme, and again, that's all we gave them. Summer Never Comes, and then they chose to build a video around that, exactly how they wanted to build it. It was their own artistic direction, their own ideas. Okay, here we go. I think the sound may kick in. I'm not sure the sound starts off immediately. Keep going.
It doesn't start the first second.
We can just watch it, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so the first one was a little bit depressing. The second one's a little bit more cheery. Well, we showed it last night, so you may have seen it already, but can we cut to the next one, Tom? And of course, Summer was the guy's wife. He was wrongly imprisoned, and she died in some sort of horrible nuclear war in the time that he was in prison. So it's the one that Ollie was the director for. just cut that for the moment because I think we're running a bit out of time. So, cool. Okay, so as you can see, two very different movies because that's what they were doing. They were coming up with their own ideas and they were leading themselves through it. So we're going to have to pull this together quite quickly, I think. So, can we skip through? Okay, so we've got Ollie here. Have we got time to have a little thing from Ollie? Ollie, maybe we'll try and put that in the questions if that's all right, Ollie. We'll try and put you in the questions.
Oh, yes, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, next one. So what have we learnt? Script writing was probably the most important part. If you have the idea and you get the script right, then you get a really good movie out the end of it. Being aware of technical constraints, I think Tom will dig into that a little bit later. It's all about characters from day one. If they haven't got characters, you don't have any movie. Blender support is essential because we come up against how my rain's going sideways, how to make the rain go down, things like that. Questions that probably most people haven't met before. And it works. So all the people who have been telling us for years that you can't do this stuff, it works. And you have to wait till uni, and several found the Blender interface easier than Maya, just to kind of throw that in there, the theme of the weekend. So keep going. Feedback, so people think they learnt a lot more in 7 days than they would have at school. Good, and they enjoyed it a lot. There was another one, how stressful did you find it? They found it hugely stressful, but they enjoyed it and they learnt a lot, which for me as a teacher is a good thing. And finally, to feedback, could it be slightly longer? Can I come back next year? And we've got, so Ollie got onto the British Film Institute Film School on the back of some of the stuff that he did last year with this, which is great. We've also had some universities drop their entry requirements on the strength of what students have been doing for this, which is fantastic. Keep going. Okay, 2 locations next year, render farm, and then we've got this other little thing which I was toying around with last year. It would be wonderful to have a pre-university 18 and below Suzanne style award style thing, whether that's within Blender or outside Blender. It would be very cool. And details if you want to get in touch. We've got a website if you want to check out videos from last year and some other videos from this year. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for these great contributions. So at this point, I would like to ask a couple of questions to the audience. So just for your information, we have around half an hour of time. There is a lunch break, so as long as you can stay here, we can keep on talking. So just for an information. So who works in education here? Okay, almost everybody. Who is like teaching at a university? Almost everybody. So who doesn't teach at a university and does like a private training or like in a private education? So like via websites, like online training. Okay, okay, good. Okay, are there any questions for our speakers? Anyone questions? Yeah.
Basically, I have 2 questions. The first question is, why all those projects that various teachers do are so short? Why not, for example, for a month? I mean, 1 week of production is quite constrained. I understand when, for example, you invite people and they come over and they stay there and you have this kind of intensive training. But not only this, those projects showed, but before on those last 3 days, there were some people talking that we had this like a 1 month sprint or like 1 week sprint, something like that. Why not longer? Why not like 6 months for making something more serious and maybe more polished? I know maybe it's.
The 7 days that we run is actually quite long in terms of what's mostly happening in summer schools. And we pushed to 7 days because we wanted to give them quite a long experience. Now, I really do appreciate what you're saying, because it would be great to have it even longer. We've tried to, by making them do the portfolios, we are extending the amount of time that they're using Blender, because they've got to do all the preliminary work to get their portfolio together. So we're also looking at trying to do some stuff in the autumn as well, to try and have it continue throughout the year. For us, it's really funding. Funding is the biggest issue. We run. It's completely free. Nobody has to pay to come on our course. We volunteer our time, and universities give us equipment and food and things like that. But it is it's a lot of time, and you would have to get some serious funding to take care of that. That's really why we're not doing it. Okay. Anybody?
I think it's the same for commercial. You know, it's just if you give a course and it becomes 6 months, that would be a very expensive education. So I think you would pay 20,000 euros for just a couple months of Blender experience. I think that's the main thing, because it takes up much. Can I say one more thing? It's not about this, but for Nick, I think with Blender education, you might have a bit of a problem if all the education is instigated by the students, because you're assuming that the student knows what he should be doing. And a lot of the time education works because the teacher asks the student to do a specific thing. So right now you're waiting for a student and he's going to say, I want to make a red car, but maybe making a red car is not what is right for the student, and assuming that the student knows what is best for himself, I think a lot of educators might see some issues there. So, but it's something to think about.
Okay, before that, Adriana wants to add something?
I just wanted to answer, in my case it's only 9 hours. But there are students who want to work longer on this. They can choose this as a work that goes over 1 year. I didn't show these works now, and then they create something longer. So they have the opportunity, and in visual arts there are many other areas, so it's we have not in the curriculum so much time. But there are students that can coached by a teacher working over a year on projects, and that's the most interesting works, I think.
Okay. Can I comment on you already, or do you still want to have that conversation? Okay. Good. First of all, I think you're absolutely right. Students don't know what is good for them. I teach at the university, so I know it. There are two things. First thing I thought about is that the current form of education in Blender, online, I mean offline it's, except for such kind of programs, small, is tutorial-based. Now, the tutorial-based has one big downfall, and that is that it's always a teacher saying, okay, let's do a fireworks today. And then all kids can, or all students, I shouldn't say kids, all students, can make fireworks. But the problem is that they only learn how to make fireworks, and apparently the tutorials online now don't teach them how to grasp the concepts, only teach them how to do things. For example, Andrew Price launched the Nature Academy about a year ago, I think now, or a year and a half. And he recently launched the Architecture Academy, and he said, well, I learned from the Nature Academy, the students are only capable of copying those 11 tutorials I put online. And they were not able to make their own tree, only the tree I made them. So I think that's the first topic I had, why I want the students to come up with ideas. Secondly is because I want the student also to be motivated. I think it's in this kind of framework dangerous to have a lot of students there who say, oh, I want to learn something, and then start with full enthusiasm, and then 2 weeks later the project dies. That's why I think that there should be some incentive that the students should come with their own ideas and go on. However, concerning the idea that the student doesn't know what he wants to learn, yes, that's why I think it's important for educators to come there, to use the student's first idea to teach them, to learn from the student, okay, what does not know, and then educators can use this to channel their own education. And I think that there also should be some feedback afterwards, that the educator says to the student, okay, you did good, this is what you do, now you should go in that direction because that thing is, you suck at it. Well, please use nicer words, but...
Okay, I also have a question, but I can wait. I will let you. Are all the questions for the guys, the panelists, or more generic questions? Yeah, generic. Okay. All right. So, Sebastian.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's super great project, totally nice. I would be interested in, do you know if the students stick with Blender after they finish these little things or these movies? Do you know if they do more, and what do they do, and yeah, like what happens after that?
Yeah, like since I started on 3Dami, I've been using it ever since for 3 years now. So I don't know, I always go on it still. Like I think Che, some of the other students are still keeping it up as well. I'm not sure about you guys, but like 4 or 5. Yeah, a fair few are continuing it after our 3Dami. And how many? Oh yeah, as well. Like still, we've got a Facebook group, and like I think it was 2 days ago. Like people are still posting new work up, posting what they're doing now. Like Che goes in uni. Like another guy is always uploading stuff. I'm still doing films, so yeah. So.
Few do in this longer work. It's from the time it's based in the next year. So out of this 14, maybe 2 choose it as their area to work, and maybe 10 I know they won't touch Blender anymore, and the other use it when they have an idea in school to for example in chemistry or in physics to build a model. They do. I have seen some such works, and what they do in their spare time I don't know, but because I'm working with the one that make a larger work. So.
Okay. So one.
I would like to make a reflection, more than a question, ask a question. In 2009, in the Blender conference, we had several meetings talking about Blender in education, academic Blender. One of the results of this panel was the creation of a forum for Blender academics. There is a forum in the Blender side, going to community and going in the forums, there is academic and research. So one of the problems I find is that this forum is not really active one. And the problem is that people don't share in the forum their experience. What we need is to share, is to have the possibility to keep in touch during the year, not to come here one time a year to talk of this problem. And then I would like to put my point of view around the question in Blender education. Academic Blender signified to me what is the work in the academic environment. Blender has several users, different kind of users. There is people who work in the communication environment, people who work in educational environment. Blender, as a tool in the educational environment, is wonderful because it's free. And so schools can use it in world laboratories without have to pay a lot of money. That's one of the reasons why Blender is so good, more than the quality of the program, obviously. But then, what is Blender in an academic environment? What is an academic environment? In Costa Rica, we talk in the University of Costa Rica, where I work, we talk about academic as a work, a job in teaching, research, and social action. If we have no one of these parts, we have no academic environment. We cannot use research without teaching. We cannot use research and teaching without social action. Blender, Tom said about people using in a jail in the United States, Blender. That's social action. Just to finish, in what is teaching with Blender, I think that we have to keep in mind that there are 2 ways to follow. One is teaching Blender. The other is teaching with Blender. I can teach art with Blender, I can teach geography, I can teach anatomy, I can teach botanism, a lot of things. I would like to share this kind of reflection to make it available in the forum in the Blender site. Thank you.
Mr. Sigal, we cannot find the forum. I didn't know that.
Okay. So I know. guys. So, of course, I understand, like, this should be its own conference, a conference about Blender in education. As you can see, there are so many topics that can be faced and so many things to discuss. And at this point, I would like to ask a couple of things before we go further with the questions, because I think some of the questions might relate to that. One of the reasons why we have this panel is also to for the Blender Foundation to know what can be done in order to support educators, any type of project in education. And so we've just heard some words about how difficult it is sometimes to network between educators. Some of you might know about the Blender network. There is going to be a talk later on today, which is something that for educators should be, the Blender network should be a place where educators gather to show off their work and to also start connecting to each other. So if anyone is interested in that, I warmly invite you to the talk that is going to take place this afternoon in the theater. And more practically, I would like to ask if anyone knows about a mailing list called BF Education that is on the Blender.org website. Does anyone know about the BF Education mailing list? It's like, yes. Okay, yeah, exactly. So that's one of the issues. Like, okay, there are these platforms. For example, on Blender.org, there is a forum, there is this list. So there isn't much activity. This happens because a leader for managing the education in Blender, like somebody who really can spend their time managing this, did not step up yet. We all know that Ton is very focused on making Blender the best software it can be, on supporting creative teams, on making films, and of course he cannot spend too much time in education, which is a little bit of a pity, but it doesn't mean that someone else can do it. So if people are interested in this, the mailing list or the Blender network could be a good way to get in touch with me, for example, to discuss this. It's very open, and we really see a huge variety of things going on, and I know it's kind of a pity to not have a good way for everybody to know what's going on. So I just would like to call the attention to this. So yeah.
I just wanted a small comment on that. I chose Blender Education as a very general name because we have a lot of ideas of what we want to do with the website. But if it can help, I want to put links to mailing lists, to fora on this website, to have it like some kind of place where people in education can go to find each other. Of course, the network is for that, but if there's anything else that I can help you with, please talk to me.
Yeah, okay. Then we can probably, later after this talk, we're going to be hanging out. So if there is any further discussion on this, we can definitely talk. I will go here.
Thank you. Returning to the question about how long things last and how much they cost, how important was it for things like 3Dami that the children were all physically in the same place? Is there any scope for a network distributed model in the way that the Luke's Escape movie has worked, where the students collaborate online and perhaps therefore over a longer period of time in their evenings or over their weekends, but sharing things via Dropbox rather than being in the same room together?
I think it was actually really important for them to get together, because we met some of the parents at the premiere. They came along and they said he always thought he was on his own, because you've got this was a guy over, I think, in North Wales who didn't know anybody else in his local community who was doing Blender. And by meeting other people just like himself, the same age as himself, who were doing similar things, allowed him to very quickly build up a network, which I think you could then hopefully try and do something with afterwards. But I think having an initial meetup so they can meet each other face to face is hugely important. And then if you could continue that online a bit later, that would be my ideal, really. Okay.
I think just one thing on like the funding issue, just to give you like an idea of scale, because you ran for Dami for £500, and I got on the BFI film course, and I know that's got a budget of £3 million for the year, so like, and there's 54 students, but 9 in each like speciality, so it's not it's been a whole year, but we only have 2 weeks together, and then one guy who keeps in touch with us throughout the year, but that's got a budget of £3 million. So that's
Okay, somebody is then who was raising his hand for half an hour? You and the two of you. Okay.
Hi, I have a question and maybe a few suggestions. So for you three Dami guys, you said you're running the workshop for free for kids. So, and it is funded. So where do you get the funding from? Actually, that is the first question. Then.
The UK has changed that you have to pay to go to university now. So universities, to justify charging kids lots and lots and lots of money to go to universities, have to be seen to do outreach. They have to be doing outreach. They have to be helping kids access university. So we're trying to get in on that. We're trying to get universities to use some of their funding to sponsor these schools in the summer. We've also had a little bit of funding from some of the industry partners as well, helping with the food. So we're trying to get it from multi areas, but we're hoping to really try and move in with the universities where we can.
I have a structural suggestion. We use all the time this traditional CG pipeline as an educational timeline, like starting with modeling and then going texturing, rigging, animation, and then rendering, and so the compositing and rendering, like a professional CG artist works. But is it the right way to work like this, or maybe will it be better because every project, if the simplest one, but also the most complicated short movie, 1 year project, has the same structure of starts with a Blender empty file and ends with a rendering. Like, wouldn't be it better like starting the first thing? I started to make this year in my workshops. Like the first thing I teach is F12, like making some pictures, some JPEG, and saving that's JPEG, and then slowly making this time bigger, this working time bigger, and going then as Adriana told, you don't show the colors, for example, but it's so easy to make some color and put it. Maybe it's an alternative way to. I wanted to put in discussion.
I do this too.
Thank you.
Just very quickly to follow, one of the best things I did with students that I was teaching Blender to was to start with download and import. So I just made them members of BlendSwap, and they downloaded bunches of stuff, imported it all into a file, and made a huge big fucking mess to start. And you want to teach them how to model from points, but it is really fun to do it the other way around, because they import Santa Claus, and then they're like, okay, so I've imported Santa Claus, but now I want to make him green, how do I do it? And you end up teaching them materials and editing models anyway, but you get a different starting point, and it can be fun for students indeed to start with something that looks cool already. But yeah.
Also the rigid bodies, before showing the animation or key times, I just made stairs, very, very simple stairs and some balls, and made rigid body on it, and it's animated, and they don't have to really go into the E and keyframe setting. And they're having some movie out of it.
Cool. One more.
Something quick anyway. I just had a question. I forgot the name next to you, the gentleman. But yeah, you did say that with your education online, that the projects will be public, yes, initiated by students, let's say, but there'll be ongoing public disclosure, because I think that when a one-on-one is created, it's very beneficial to that one, but as long as it's kept closed, that is the other community members throughout the world cannot see the discoveries or the progress and maybe branch off on a certain point, maybe, then they cannot benefit from it. So this is one thing I like about YouTube, for example, that I've been able to see some teaching and such. So I do believe in one-on-one, but I also hope, and I think you said that it will be also available online. If you can just mention if you are or not.
So the first idea we had was, I mean, I love the Blender community. We have a great community, and I wanted to make the website for the community. So the first idea was to keep it all open, so that everyone can follow everything. But then I came into the problem, what if an educator who is charged doesn't want to share all his tips and tricks directly to the public? So that's why I'm giving you the option. I mean, every project, every normal project, because there's also something as a professional project, but every normal project is open, so you can see all steps, and you can go into the public forum. So if the students and teacher chooses, they can have everything online for everyone to see. But if they choose not to, they can also go to private forum, and then you can only see like the steps and the pictures of, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. So you have like, everyone can see still the flow of the project, but not all the details of how to render certain things. So I also have something called a professional project, but that's closed. Then you don't even see students. That's more for like if a studio wants to hire somebody and they don't want to have their project online. But that's not really educational. That's just another option.
Okay, we have time for one last question.
It's not really a question, it's more a remark, and it's related to what you were talking about. I think it would be interesting to share not the tips and tricks, but more the pedagogy or the methodology, the way to construct the knowledge of students. And this is something online I don't find a lot of things, like the ways you organize the courses on 1 year. In 1 week it's more efficient, it's more easy because you have to do something in one week, but in 1 year it's much more complex to organize the way you teach the students. So I think it would be useful to have, I don't know how, a way to share like our experience over the year and how what we reach, what were the problems that we saw with students. This is, yeah, general reflection about. Yep.
So, okay, yeah.
Something to both of these statements. I think it's important to also say the goal that you are trying to reach, because if the goal is to teach the software skills, it's perfect to import everything on stage, but if you want them to, the students, to work with relations, compositions, of course it's fun to add different colors, but then it's aesthetically, it's too much to deal for them. And so in every discussions, I mean, you said it, what's the academic part of it, and one part is to say what do you want to reach with the use of Blender, because it can, you can teach programming with Blender, you can teach things about perception. And we can't talk about how to teach it if we don't talk about the focus we have. So.
Okay, so unfortunately we have to wrap this up, but two very quick remarks. At the end of the conference, we will probably release a contact system. So for everybody who is interested on having a follow-up discussion on this topic, you will find a way to connect again together, because that's also what the Blender conference is about, like creating a little bit of networking. A lot of interesting discussion is going, and it's really a shame that there is no forum that is actually actively visited by all the people in this room who could talk about this on, and many nice things could develop. So we will really try to get something going. And besides that, I'd like to thank our panelists who have been sharing some great work. And now it's time for having a lunch break, so this means you can just grab them and keep asking them questions while they're eating their sandwich. Yeah. Can I borrow this? So one final thing: the Blender Network presentation is going to be at 2:30. there is Trevor Tomesh. This talk has been cancelled. So if you look outside in the corridor, there are 2 copies of the timetable with red dashed rectangles marking this schedule change. Thank you.
That doesn't mean... Yeah, well, I was turning the volume down before I plugged this out at the time. As you do with food. Didn't have time for breakfast today, so I haven't eaten yet.
Then it's a long time.
Yeah, no coffee either. Didn't get to answer anything. I was hoping for some technical stuff, but that's where I'm
I was
at.
also very scared that I wasn't going to get any kind of question.
You got a lot. You did well.
It's because it's actually quite difficult to explain all aspects of the website in 10 minutes. There's so much to think about, and I thought of all these things, but I can't explain why I do all these things on such a short notice.
With creating Dami, we actually have a design document. We have a document that describes how we teach, what we do, and we update it iteratively, so we actually have justifications for everything. And that document exists. It's sort of like the lesson plans, here's why we do what we do, here's how it works, all those details.
That's really nice. You should put that on like, example the mailing list. Just...
We will balance the budget, you know, as a labour guys, the in Australia. It's basically, you know, you spend all our money, you know, now we're going to have to write the ship and all that kind of stuff. So they're basically putting all the, so it's going to be a bit hard for me to get support from you, not from the country. Because that's actually something that's going to email. If you're happy to share that, I'm more than happy to in return. If I do get all the money, give you feedback on what we want to achieve. That's why I was interested in your case. You don't quite what you do. I see you're very keen on being handling it's ridiculous. It's something that's given away for free. I've seen you do your website. Thank you. Oh yes, sorry, yes, we're in Manchester. I'll be keen to sort of look up and you could maybe weekends, summer school for they do all traditional as well as digital. Maybe
this is our I'm going to see exactly how it works.
I can't promise anything, but
this year when we ran 3D, I set up a site show, and we essentially, I have rigged it up so you can do